Good afternoon, ladies. It is Wednesday, and I got a later start today, but we're good to go now. I hope last week you were able to use some of the wisdom tips that I taught you and what God is teaching you. I hope you understand how important it is. We're on class 17 today, and just a little recap. Wisdom is one of the tools that God has given us. And we talked about it in Proverbs 1, and I hope you were able to review and actually dig in for yourself. You see, God has wisdom stored up for us, he says. And some days you need more than others. This week I needed wisdom, a big amount of wisdom for something, and I prayed. And this is what you do when you are confronted with something. You give yourself time. If you see something in one of your children, coworker, husband, church, whatever it is, you pray about it and let God work, because your prayers will do something. And then you ask God for the right time to talk to whoever, husband or child. And then God prepares the way for you. And you can ask him as much as you need. Sometimes I just send up an SOS prayer. That's what it's called when you go, God, I need wisdom, help. Or I'll just say, help, Lord, help. And he'll put something in my head to do. And I want to read Isaiah 55:8 to you. This is really important, so I want you to write it down. God says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. God's ways are so much higher, and he can see the end result. He can see the beginning before it even comes, and he can see the middle, and he can see all the way to the end. So trusting him is the big thing, and this will take time with your walk with God, ladies. So give yourself time and get to know God intimately and let him show you who he is. He's wonderful, and he's at your right hand. One time God had me, I prayed about something with my husband, Joe, and he got very upset about something, and I said, God, what is it? And God showed me something, and he had me approach him, and he said, God gave me the idea, pick him a rose, because he loves roses. He always has loved them. He grows them. So I picked him a rose, and I sat down to talk with him. And God just smoothed the way. One time with my son, my youngest son, David, and Alex, you know this about your daddy, and Jamie, you know this about David, that he'll get all in a tizzy and he won't hear you. So I said, God, how do I talk to him? And God said, write him a letter. This was when he was in high school. Write him a letter and leave it on his pillow. And I wrote him the letter, left it on his pillow. He said, he came up to me and he said, Mom, you're right. You're right. So God knows exactly how to reach somebody, whether it's your child, your husband, your coworker. If you're not married, your coworker. If you have a boss, or if you are the boss, God has wisdom for everything. So just take advantage of that and learn. Also, I want to read you 1 Corinthians 1:26. Sometimes some of the ideas God's given me, I thought, this will never work. This is dumb. But listen to what this says in 1 Corinthians 26 and 27. It says, for consider your calling, brethren, that there were not many wise according to the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to shame the wise, and God has chosen the weak things of the world to shame the things which are strong. You see, you don't have to be the sharpest pencil in the box. I love those sayings. Or the best sandwich at the picnic. God, if you have God, you have all you need. So be sure and avail yourself of God. And I want to tell you something, ladies. When God took the Israelites through the Red Sea and through the desert, the wilderness, He allowed problems to come that they could not solve so that they would have to lean on him. That, that child that's hard for you, that's no coincidence. God planned that. That husband that may be hard, difficult, or maybe you're the difficult one. Whatever it is, God has done that so you will need him both to handle the problem, or if you're the one that needs to change you. If you have gone through a very hard time in your life, in your upbringing, there's healing that needs to happen with you. And God is right there at your right hand to help you so that he can heal you and you in turn can help your children. You don't want to stay broken because you'll raise broken children. You are bent the wrong way if you've had catastrophe in your life, and you need God's healing so that you don't stay bent. Okay. Remember how we learned that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding are tools that God gives you. And it's not your wisdom, it's his wisdom, his understanding, his knowledge that you're going to use in raising your children, in working with your husband, working with your coworkers, even being on a committee or teaching a Bible study at church or teaching a video like I'm teaching. You need his wisdom, his understanding, and his knowledge for every situation. I'll be praying about something and all of a sudden an idea will pop into my head or a revelation about something that I didn't know, but God knew it. That he wants you to need him. It's not he wants you to be independent. He wants you to need him, so he allows problems and difficulties. Don't fight them, but say, God, I need you more than ever now. And when you get to the other side of your problems, you'll gain more wisdom, more knowledge, more understanding. And you'll have that in your tool chest so that when life throws problems at you, you won't lose your head. You won't go crazy over it. Your children watch you and they learn from you. If they have a mom that goes crazy at the least little thing, their trust is not there because they can't lean and depend on you. That's why God wants you to learn to lean on him, and then you can teach your children while they're young, they can depend on you. You're not going to fall apart. You're going to teach them the ways of God, and you're going to teach them wisdom and understanding and knowledge of God. Okay. There was something I want to share with you. We're going to shift a little bit. And I'm going to post this book on the God's Plan for Wife and Mother website. And it's called Me, Obey Him by Elizabeth Rice Hanford. And if you have been in an abusive relationship, if your father was abusive, if you had a really dysfunctional family, maybe you couldn't be any worse off than Joyce Meyer was. Her father physically and sexually abused her up until she left home. And her mother knew about it, but was not strong enough to stand up for Joyce. And so Joyce had a really hard time with submission. And if you yourself, that's a dirty word in the world, because the world, remember, it's diametrically opposed to the ways of God. And so I'm going to post this book. I looked it up, and on Amazon, I got it for $6. So I go and check things out so I can tell you, yes, you can get this. I want to read you. This was so funny. Elizabeth wrote that one of the women wrote to her, "I hated your book," a woman said to me, with tears in her eyes, "and I owe you an apology. Someone gave me, Obey Him, because my marriage had gone sour. I read the first chapter and got so angry I tried to flush it down the toilet, but it wouldn't go down. I tried to burn it, but the pages were too soggy. So I threw it across the living room. It hit the wall and landed on the floor, and it lay there on the floor for days. All the while, my relationship with my husband got worse and worse. In desperation, I picked up your book and read it through, this time with tears of shame and hope. I put the Bible principles to work in my life, and oh, I cannot thank you enough. My husband has come to Christ in our home, is happier than he ever could have imagined, and I am too. The revised edition that she has written doesn't alter the message at all. It only relates it to the problems Christians have in the 21st century. Chapter 7 is added to help you in appealing a poor decision, and you'll find out that when you read chapter 7. Some of the women reported back. One, the child who was not aborted because one woman read this book is now in college. The woman who decided to pick up her husband's clothes without complaining is now a contented grandmother with a happy, contented husband, and she's enjoying life after raising her children, and so is her husband. The unbelieving husband came to Christ, and there's many more stories because of this book. Me, Obey Him. So women, I would love you to order that book from Amazon and apply the principles, because it does not mean being a doormat. There's a principle there that shows you how to submit to the leadership of your husband in the home, and yes, even if he's not saved. This book, with your attitude open, will change your character. And you know the word we talked about, metamorphosis? You're going to change from that caterpillar into the butterfly. If you are open and let God, He may have to heal you on some things. And if this sounds repulsive to you, it's because you do not have the right biblical view. You may have been abused and you need healing first. God will walk you through the healing process. You can say, Lord, you are the divine physician, so I need you to heal this. Heal my memories and show me the right way to apply this. I have used this always. When my Maltese dog died last January, I was brokenhearted, and I told my husband, I want to get another Maltese. I found a breeder, and he said, no, honey. And I went to prayer, and I said, I'm going to pray. And I said, God, if it's meant for me to have another dog right now, would you change my husband's heart? You say the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord. It's like water in the hands of the Lord, and you turn it wherever you want. So I went to prayer, and then I approached my husband again. And I said, whatever you tell me, I will accept, because I prayed and I asked God to guide you. And he said, honey, our other Maltese has been pushed to the side because Macy, when she was sick for 9 months with cancer, she was so jealous. She pushed the dog, and she would just get angry and go to attack her if she went to come to me, the other dog. So I said, you are right. He said, let's wait until one of our other 2 dogs is going to die. We know she's going to die, or they do pass away. And I said, I accept that totally, because I asked the Lord to go through you, and he did. And it's been nothing but a blessing for our other Maltese. So I'm telling you, put this to work and see if God does not work on your behalf. If you go to your husband first after prayer on something, saying, Lord, I will accept your judgment coming from him, or if he's against something, God can change his heart. And if God doesn't, rest in it, because God is doing something for your good and for your family's good and your husband's good. So this week I'm going to pray for you in the area of submission. And I encourage you to get this book. It's not a big book. And so this week, remember, apply one thing that you've learned. If it's still you need more help on wisdom, which you will, keep on working on wisdom and ask God for wisdom in situations. And please get this book, and please walk through it, prayerfully walk through it. And remember, I love you. I'm praying for you. Have a good week, ladies.